Hi, I'm Rosh from Energy Matters. Welcome to our podcast, Road to Zero, where we dive headfirst into all things renewable. Join us as we chat with industry experts, tech specialists, and some of your favorite TV and radio personalities asking the renewable energy questions that you want answers to. Our goal, a zero carbon future. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to be joined by Erin van Maanen, the acting CEO for Hydro Tasmania. Hello, Erin. How are you?
I'm great, Rosh. Great to be here today.
Thank you so much for joining me. I know you're incredibly busy, so I really do appreciate it.
No problem at all. Great to have the opportunity.
No, good stuff. Thanks, Erin. Well, look, I'm absolutely thrilled to have you on, as you know. More so, A, you're just awesome to chat to, and B, hot off the visit to Cethana in Tasmania, I was absolutely gobsmacked as to what I saw. The facility is incredible. The whole history of Hydro Tasmania is incredible. And for all of those of you who are watching or listening today on this week's episode of Energy Matters on Saturday, 4 p.m. on 9 Live, you are going to be wowed. Okay, the fact that renewable energy for over 100 years is astonishing in itself, and this facility is next level. Anyway, before we get into that, I'm obviously very excited. Erin, my audience would love to know a little bit more about you, your background, and what led you to Hydro Tasmania.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess first thing I'll say is I was born and raised in Tasmania, and as you say, we've been generating renewable energy here for over 100 years. So it was something that was taken as a bit of a given growing up, the pride in the clean energy that we have here in Tasmania, and something that I certainly felt, from my parents as well. Energy was maybe not something I necessarily anticipated working in, kind of studied economics, thought I might work for the World Bank or something like that. But had the opportunity to start out my career as a young graduate out of economics degree, working on business cases for wind projects that were under development here in Tasmania, as well as kind of interstate and overseas. So really exciting industry to be on in kind of the early days of the wind development sector here in Tasmania, as well as nationally. So that really, I guess, built that attachment I have, or a desire around improving the sustainability of our energy system in Australia as a whole. Over time, became much more of a national focus on decarbonisation and achieving climate targets, and our understanding of kind of climate change and emissions progressing. But back in those days, it was about, the fun of seeing these clean energy assets built and contribute to our energy needs here. And really since then, I've stayed in energy all of my career, had the opportunity to work overseas in renewables advisory, and then I've been here in Tasmania the last 15 years, predominantly at Hydro Tasmania in a variety of roles, and all contributing to that sustainable energy future for our state and for the country.
Look, it's absolutely incredible. And I mean, what an amazing role you have. I mean, I don't know if you get to visit all those sites, as often as you'd like to, but, literally they are so impressive and just so, so inspiring as well. I mean, one thing that really stood out to me, and I've already highlighted it at the start of my introduction, really was the fact that we've had access to renewable energy for 100 years, if not more, which is essentially how old, sort of Hydro Tasmania is. And really the conversation for decarbonisation, for net zero, has only really kicked off over the past few years. So, for me, it's like, it's just a real, moment where you kind of consider, why haven't we been doing this as a country, as a globe for the last 100 years? Why are we just leaving it so late? So it is a real surprise. But at the same token, it fills me with nothing but confidence to know what you guys have achieved and how much you have achieved in that time and what's coming next. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a second. It's a pretty much obvious question. But what would you say differentiates Hydro Tasmania from other energy generators out there who also retail electricity?
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on some of it there, but we have, I guess, quite a different business to most energy businesses across the country. Often there's a mix of assets between kind of traditional thermal assets and potentially some newer renewable energy assets. But also they can be, a fewer number of big assets in particular locations, and then often as part of an integrated business between generation and retail. I think what's different about ours is that long-standing legacy in terms of clean energy assets. We also have quite a diverse portfolio. So within Tasmania, we have 30 different power stations around the state, as you say, in some really unique locations. I haven't been to all 30 yet, but certainly strive to be out in the field as much as possible. And they're all different shapes and sizes. Some have deep storage, some shallow. Some are 100 years old, and the more recent one kind of less than 50 years old. But we have this really diverse asset portfolio. What's quite unique about it, other than that it's renewable, is its flexibility. So with our hydropower assets and the storages we have quite a unique ability to ramp up and down our generation in a highly flexible way. And that's going to be really even increasingly valued in a market that's transitioning to assets like wind and solar that are dependent on sun and wind to be able to fill in those gaps with that flexible generation. And that's something, when we think about our business as a whole with Momentum Energy on the retail side, we're really thinking about how do you have a flexible portfolio that allows you then to deliver to customer needs. So I think that does set us apart.
It really does. And the fact you have got such a diverse portfolio really stands in its own as well. I mean, with the, for anyone watching, we're just going to play a very, very short clip. This week, Saturday, 4 p.m. and 9 Live, we are visiting Tasmania, and particularly the Cethana Dam. It is absolutely incredible. Take a quick look.
Cethana is one of 8 power stations we have in the Merseyforth scheme, which is a big part of our hydropower network here in Tasmania. The dam wall was standing on around 100 metres high, and this power station was completed construction in 1971. So a big history here with this power station specifically, but in the broader Hydro Tasmania portfolio, that's one of 30 power stations, and we've been operating hydropower in Tasmania for over 100 years.
Okay, there you go, Erin. That was amazing. You were absolutely fantastic on camera. Did you enjoy filming at Energy Matters?
Oh, yeah. It was, kind of a newer experience for me. Absolutely a fun day. As you can see there, we got a really beautiful sunny day. Obviously, we like it when it's rainy as well, but it was nice to have that beautiful weather to take you and the team around and show you just a little bit of a slice of what we do and some of the incredible assets we have. So it was really great to have you there.
We absolutely lucked in with the weather. Even I had to apply a bit of sunscreen as well. It was a stunning day. So, Erin, what can we, in terms of the actual tour for Cethana, can you tell us a little bit more about the facility itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Cethana hydropower facility is one of those 30 existing power stations that I mentioned. So it was commissioned in 1971, has 100 megawatts of installed capacity. So that's, roughly about 5% of the installed capacity we have in Tasmania. It's got 110 metre high dam, so quite an impressive dam there, not quite as impressive as the one behind me, but quite a favourite. It's an underground power station, so if you think about, construction capability in the 70s, certainly much more advanced than what we built some of our earlier assets with much longer ago, but, quite a significant excavation at that time. There's a very deep lake there, so one of the deepest in the state. They actually do underwater diving training just around the corner from the site, so the lake itself up to 100 metres deep. So it is like a number of our assets. It's not a standalone asset in terms of the way it generates electricity and the water, so it does have a storage behind it. But it is one of 8 power stations in the same cascade. So that's quite common within our system. We'll have multiple power stations along the same or connected river systems. And then we can basically be using the same water coming downstream through multiple power stations before it runs out to sea to really maximise the energy that we can generate from the natural resources that we have. So that adds to that flexibility that I talked about. So, a really, a great example of the assets that we have here in Tasmania. And as we might talk about in a minute, an area where we have plans for the future as well.
Well, you have led me very, very nicely to my next question because in the conversation that we had, you did kind of disclose that there are some incredible plans for Cethana. Please tell all what's coming next.
Yeah, so we have a variety of plans for the future. Some are about maintaining those existing assets we have to make sure they continue to generate for decades to come. And we have another project where we're looking to fully redevelop one of our oldest power stations. But at Cethana, we have a really exciting opportunity to look at the development of our first pumped hydro facility within Tasmania. So pumped hydro is something we've looked at because coming back to the market change, and you've got increasing wind and solar, what that means is there'll be significant periods with actually too much energy because, it's very windy, it's very sunny, we're producing more than is required. And then in other times, there's a lack of energy. So storage can come from batteries, and that can shift energy between the parts of the day where it's plentiful and the parts where it's less plentiful. And pumped hydro acts like a giant battery. So essentially, you're able to use the excess energy to pump water uphill into an upper reservoir, and then when it's needed, you run it back down to a power station to generate electricity. So it's a big water battery, and it has different attributes to an electrical battery. And one is that it has the potential to have a much longer storage duration. So at Cethana, we have an existing lake which feeds the existing power station that we can use as a lower storage without having to construct a new one. And then we're lucky, or we picked the site because of the topography, and there's a very steep hill very proximate to that storage where we can put an upper storage at the top of that hill, connect through an underground power station to develop that pumped hydro facility. So it's a quite big asset that we're looking at developing, so 750 megawatts. That's equivalent to about a third of the maximum capacity in the Tasmanian system at the moment, so it is really large, with 20 hours of storage. So comparing that to electrical batteries, which at the moment tend to be kind of 2 to 4 hours of storage. They both have a role and will have a role in the future, but this is a really exciting opportunity for us to develop an asset that will really support the energy needs for decades to come.
My lithium battery that I have outside now just feels really inferior. I think in a fit pumped hydro system, but I wish I could. When do you expect the project to be completed?
So another attribute about pumped hydro storage projects is they do have really quite long lead times. So we're in the development phase at the moment. We've completed a preliminary business case, and we're working towards basically putting together all the detail that's needed between the kind of design, cost and schedule estimates, as well as the funding and commercial model to look to reach final investment in the next couple of years. And it's really a long construction period after that for this type of asset. So you are looking at kind of between 5 and 10 year construction periods for an asset of this nature. But then once constructed, you can operate it for up kind of 100 years, let's say, with the right reinvestment. So it is a long lead time, but it's a project really for the early to mid 2030s, and that's a period where there will be significant retirement of coal assets, particularly in Victoria, but across the NEM as well. So that's really the timing that we're looking for this project.
Which is absolutely amazing. I mean, and once again, we talk about how old Hydro Tasmania is. I mean, over 100 years, and some of the assets you have are over 100 years old. Just as Cethana, you said, was in the 70s. So, it surprises me now that we're looking at an asset, or we saw an asset when we filmed, which is absolutely stunning. But, from a construction perspective, to think that was actually created 50 years ago is amazing. So in 100 years from now, we'll have people, my future generations will be coming to visit, hopefully filming. It's like, this thing is amazing. I can't believe it's
coming to look at our pumped hydro, that'd be great.
Absolutely insane. I love it. Erin, why do you think it's so important for people to better understand their energy and how they can make a difference?
Yeah, I mean, what we've certainly seen in recent years, and it's kind of been coming along in parallel to that greater recognition of the need for transition to clean energy sources, is a real appetite from people to get more involved in controlling aspects around their energy use. But that's certainly, it's an area that maybe is a little bit kind of unknown, or for everyone, it's not necessarily natural to engage with that. I think there's a couple of angles I would think about it from. I think for all of us, what we want in the future from an energy perspective is more clean energy. We want it to be as affordable as possible, and we want it to be reliable. And we're seeing a lot of change in the generation sources of energy. But the other way we can look to kind of optimize the cost and the reliability outcomes in the future is around balancing both the supply side in terms of where that generation is coming from, but how we consume it. So looking at opportunities around how do we, maximize our usage patterns. So as much as possible, using energy when there's the most of it being generated. And where we do have flexibility, I guess, to curtail energy or to use less, we're doing that in a way that means that the total cost, if you like, of supplying energy for everyone's needs is minimised. So there's an opportunity there by getting involved in the energy system in a greater way through your own usage actually helps get better outcomes for everyone and supports those objectives around reliability and affordability. It's one of the key areas from a national perspective that we are looking to decarbonise. It's required in other sectors, transport and other things, but energy is one of those areas where we do have the ability to change the way we kind of live and work to get a more sustainable future. And that can sound a little bit maybe kind of, big and technical, but it can be the little things that you can do, in your own home or in your own workplaces that can contribute to achieving that sustainable future. And it can have cost benefits as well. So I think there's a whole bunch of reasons to have an interest in that and consider how you can be personally involved.
You should be on my TV show, Erin. Oh, you are. Look, and you've absolutely nailed it. I mean, the whole purpose of Energy Matters is to show that everybody, no matter what your situation, your scenario, can reduce not only your carbon footprint, but also reduce your energy bills. And those two things go hand in hand. So there's so many small little things anyone can do. Really, if you're not watching Energy Matters already, you should tune in Saturday, 4 p.m. 9 Live, to get tips on how you can actually reduce your energy bills and actually reduce your carbon footprint by doing so. And if that's not enough motivation, you want to see Erin and see Cethana. That is absolutely incredible. One of the most impressive things I've seen so far in my career. Erin, you've been absolutely delightful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Yeah, I think any opportunity to talk about the work that we're doing and really encourage people to take a role in that. I mean, you mentioned before the idea of your children or grandchildren coming to see the assets. I think that's something that everyone can, feel motivated by, wanting to ensure that they have a sustainable future, and this all plays a part in that.
100%. I mean, my motivation, if I'm honest, is my 14-year-old daughter. So, so for me, if we can make a difference for her and for all of our kids and for their kids in the future and future generations, then it's our responsibility to leave this planet in a better place than we found it, is what I strongly believe. So, Erin, thank you so much. You've been awesome. And hopefully we'll get to meet again.
Yeah, great. See you soon.
Right. Thank you very much. So, guys, you heard it here first. Erin is going to be on this week's episode of Energy Matters, 4 p.m. on 9 Live. Definitely tune in. You cannot miss it. For any one of you who wants to go solar or add batteries or EV chargers or energy efficiency to your homes, please feel free to jump on our website, get yourself a quote at energymatters.com.au/free solar quotes, and we'll pair you up with local installers who can quote you, tell you what your options are, and you can choose for yourself what you wish to do. Likewise, if you want to read up on any content that you see on the TV show, or actually read up more about Hydro Tasmania, as well as Momentum Energy, which is the energy retailer that sits underneath Hydro Tasmania, then definitely jump onto our website. I would strongly urge you to consider looking at your energy bill and considering Momentum as your new retailer. So it's definitely worth having a look at their site, having a look at what they can offer you in your local area, and making that change. You can then also select some green electricity or green power options through that, as well as just Momentum just being an amazing retailer with some incredible products. You definitely want to explore that in more detail. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for your time today. I do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Energy Matters. It's going to be incredible. I look forward to chatting to you next time. All the best.